Drake is in a place where he desperately wants people to forget about his loss to Kendrick Lamar. If there's one thing he wants in the world right now, it's for people to just stop talking about Not Like Us. But at the same time, everything Drake does reminds us of the beef with Kendrick Lamar. Drake is literally his own worst enemy, and that's going to be a running theme throughout this video. Drake recently went on a live stream with a streamer named Snoh. And just for the record, this isn't a new streamer that Drake just recently found out about. No, this is a streamer that he's been giving countless shoutouts to in the past. I think once even going as far as to call her his homegirl. And this decision right here was terrible PR because this streamer named Snoh has been accused of manipulating minors to go on her stream, show their private parts without their consent, and then posting them online, again without their consent. Now I have to note that these allegations haven't been proven as of yet, but still, in light of what's happening in just the global pop culture right now, with the context of everything that's happened at the beginning of the year and is still happening right now, Drake choosing this moment to put himself in proximity with this person who's been accused of this specific thing, my guy, terrible decision. And in isolation, this shouldn't have looked weird at all. Drake being a rapper and choosing to get on a stream and show love and affection to young fans isn't necessarily a wrong thing. Rappers do that all the time for publicity. But at the same time, Not Like Us wasn't even released a year ago. It's still very much fresh in people's rotation. And as if this wasn't bad enough, Drake was also on the stream speaking to an 18-year-old. This is something Drake should have obviously known was going to make him look bad. And I don't know if Drake is just surrounded by yes men who give him countless compliments and never criticize anything he does, but Drake needs a manager, not a business manager. He needs somebody to manage his day-to-day activities, because clearly he's not the type of person who can make the best decisions for himself, especially with regards to his public image. And to pretty much sum up everything I've said until now, Drake is not handling his loss to Kendrick Lamar very well. It's very clear to all of us right now that Drake has been embarrassed, probably the most embarrassed any rapper has been in recent years, maybe even ever. He has the whole world calling him a predator every day. So to give Drake credit, I genuinely understand why he wants everybody to forget about it. Having the whole world call you the worst word anybody could call you, that's not easy. He's definitely going through it right now. And on top of that, half the industry doesn't like him. And some of those people I imagine are people that Drake genuinely thought were his real friends until they switched up on him when they got the chance. And I'm not saying that these people were wrong, because when this many people hate you, I can imagine that there's probably something wrong with you. But at the same time, having a tattoo of LeBron James on your body and then LeBron James giving Kendrick a cosign instead of you in your rap battle, that probably hurts a lot. And then on top of that, like I said earlier, Kendrick's diss records are still charting. Not just Not Like Us, but Euphoria as well. These songs are still heavily listened to by people every day. But at the end of the day, like I said earlier, Kendrick is not Drake's worst enemy. Drake is Drake's worst enemy. Because after the battle, pretty much everything Drake's done to preserve his public image has pretty much been self-sabotage. And I don't know if you guys have noticed the amount of self-sabotage Drake has been self-inflicting on himself recently. So we're gonna go on a little bit of a rabbit hole of Drake being his own enemy. Drake recently released 100 gigs worth of music and videos of himself in an attempt to, I think, remind people of his genuine love and appreciation for hip-hop and his work ethic. But this ended up being counteractive because it ended up bringing more truth to Kendrick's line in Euphoria. Remember the line where he said, "I make music that electrify him, you make music that pacify him"? If 100 gigs worth of music isn't pacifying the public, then I don't know what the meaning of pacifying is. Because obviously none of these songs are going to be bangers, none of these are going to be summer hits. This is the epitome of oversaturating the market. And it's almost impressive that somebody like Drake is even capable of oversaturating the market, when in recent years he's been the guy in hip-hop who's just been releasing so much music that a lot of people have been saying, stop, please. Kendrick has insinuated multiple times throughout the beef that Drake is the type of person who cares more about his ego than being a real artist and a real rapper. He said that Drake doing things like collecting hip-hop memorabilia from rappers like Tupac and Pharrell Williams was just an act to look like a real hip-hop lover. But in actuality, it was all just performative, to trick you into thinking he's a real hip-hop lover. And I'd love to believe that Drake releasing 100 gigs worth of music is a sign of him being a real genuine rapper and a real lover of hip-hop. But at the same time, this still brings more truth to what Kendrick said. It looks and feels more performative than authentic. Because keep in mind, the 100 gigs wasn't just music alone, it was also videos of himself in the studio with collaborators and engineers, cooking up and mixing and mastering music together. And if this dropped at another time, yes, it still would have been weird and random, but at the same time, it would have been fine. Honestly, not too many people would have cared anyway, and eventually people would have forgotten. But the fact that it dropped now, recently after the loss to Kendrick Lamar, it feels like you can even smell the performativeness of it. And don't get me wrong, somebody like Drake doesn't get as big as he's become by not having an insane work ethic. Personally, I'm the guy that always thought that Drake was the type of person to live in the studio. Regardless of whether he loves hip-hop or maybe he doesn't actually love hip-hop, regardless of whether he has ghostwriters or he doesn't have ghostwriters, at the end of the day, to become the most listened to person in the past decade, you need to live in the studio. You need to have an insane work ethic. So I already thought that he was that type of person. And I'm not even even a Drake stan, but I just recognize the amount of work that probably goes into that. But then he dropped all of this, and now I start questioning my own opinions. I start questioning if he really is like that or it's just a performance. This performative nature of Drake is what's killing Drake right now. In Euphoria, Kendrick spoke about eating chicken fried rice in New Ho King, a restaurant in Toronto. And what did Drake do? Instead of ignoring the bar, instead of letting people forget about the bar, Drake decided to go on Instagram and post a picture of himself eating chicken fried rice. So he's aware of the joke, and he's desperately trying to be a part of the joke, which makes him look way worse because he doesn't recognize that you can't be a part of the joke when the joke is you. You are the joke. You're the punchline of that line. When hip-hop has a braggadocious culture and every man in the genre is trying to be the alpha male, the dominant hero, you can't laugh at your own diss record about you. That's just not how it works. And this has the same energy as when Drake's photographer, Astro, posted a picture of Drake and his collaborators going out bowling. And for whatever reason, Drake thought it would be a funny idea if he put 6ix9ine God as his name on the teleprompter. Or at least I think it's called a teleprompter. That screen in bowling alleys, you know what I'm talking about. Again, one of the many attempts of Drake trying to look like he's fine after the loss. And as you'd expect, the internet reacted exactly how you think the internet would react, with people leaving comments like Drake is the most bothered, unbothered person to ever exist. The world can see Drake for what he's trying to do, and the most embarrassing part is that he can't see us seeing him for what he's trying to do. These antics feel like Drake is trying to dim down the fire by pouring more gasoline on it. People probably would have forgotten about the chicken fried rice bar by now. People would have absolutely stopped talking about it by now. But Drake doing things like this is what's keeping the chicken fried rice bar alive today. Now it's more popular and more funny than ever. Sexy Red released her album In Sexy We Trust, and in the album she had a feature from Drake on the song You My Everything. Drake thought it would be a good idea to get on this album and rap on the BBL Drizzy instrumental. Now if you don't remember, long story short, Rick Ross went on live and dissed Drake. He accused Drake of getting surgery done to get his abs and change his nose. And while he was going on this rant on Instagram, he also coined the term BBL Drizzy. Metro Boomin heard this and thought it would be funny to make a diss instrumental song against Drake. A distrumental, if you will. Metro Boomin released this instrumental online and offered a giveaway to the best person who could lay the best bars on the track. And the funniest thing about this whole situation is the fact that by the time Drake released the song, pretty much nobody was talking about BBL Drizzy anymore. It was a long forgotten instrumental until Drake gave the song more momentum by rapping on it in an attempt to look like he doesn't care. Literally, instead of letting people forget, he reminded the public about the thing he wants us to forget. And I think someone said that Drake also tried to change the term BBL Drizzy to mean bad women love Drizzy. And if that's true, then in all fairness, I'll give credit where credit is due. For me, I think that was actually kind of smart. It's good wordplay. But the rest of the internet didn't feel the same way I felt about it. For days after he released this, Drake was clowned for being unnecessarily corny. Drake feels like somebody who's always going in the opposite direction from progress. There were so many things Drake could have done differently after the beef, and in my opinion, there were so many things that Drake could have done differently during the beef. If I were to write my own hip-hop fan fiction and reimagine how the beef could have ended, I see a lot of opportunities where Drake could have actually taken the W in this beef, or at the very least it could have ended in a stalemate. For me, I feel like there were a couple shots that Drake could have taken against Kendrick Lamar that could have done some actual damage and given Drake a chance to win the beef, despite him obviously not being as good a lyricist as Kendrick Lamar. And I'm saying this as a Kendrick fan. I'm honestly a fan of both artists, but at the same time when this beef was happening, I was kind of unbiased, but I knew exactly who was going to win in the end. We all knew who was going to win in the end. But honestly, after Kendrick called out Drake for being friends with Baka and asked him why he's around while having assault cases against him, what Drake should have done is the most obvious thing he could have done. What Drake should have done in this moment was call out Kendrick Lamar for collaborating with Kodak Black on Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. And this would have been an easy W for Drake because Kodak Black is a rapper with multiple assault cases against him, clearly making Kendrick's bar against Drake a contradiction. Drake should have called out Kendrick Lamar for the double standard and said something along the lines of, so you're worried about Baka having weird cases, but you're literally hanging out with Kodak Black, who also has weird cases, so you tell me why he's around. I'm not a rapper, so you're just gonna have to imagine that rhyming. And obviously Kendrick fans would have come out in Kendrick's defense. People would have come out online and said that you can't compare Drake being friends with Baka with Kendrick collaborating with Kodak, because when Kendrick made Silent Hill with Kodak Black, the song is literally about redemption. The song is about a man acknowledging his bad ways in the past and trying to move towards that and be a better person. And for that reason, you can't compare it to Drake's friendship with Baka. But again, this is still a double standard, because Baka went to jail for his crimes. And if the topic of discussion is redemption, then Baka is somebody who literally paid for his crime. So why isn't his redemption spoken about? And I just want to add this for the record real quick, but both Kodak and Baka are garbage human beings in my opinion. In no ways am I defending them or exonerating them of their crimes. I'm just writing hip-hop fanfiction. But what I'm saying is that if Drake thought straight for 1 second and did something like this during the beef, at worst it could have ended in a stalemate. The A minor bar Not Like Us would have been a lot less hard-hitting as it was. And most importantly, Drake's public image would have still been intact. the world wouldn't be calling him a predator. Or at least less people in the world would have been calling him a predator. But instead of doing this, what did Drake do? Drake thought it would be a good idea to misinterpret Mother I Sober, a song of Mr. Morale, and assume that the song was about Kendrick being assaulted, when in actuality it's a song about how Kendrick's mother was assaulted and she was scared that Kendrick might be getting assaulted as well as a kid. This is what I mean by Drake is always moving in the opposite direction, far from progress. Drake is doing anything and everything instead of exactly what he should be doing, which is laying low, and I've said this multiple times in previous videos. What Drake should have done after losing the battle to Kendrick Lamar is stay low, stay away from the internet, literally let people forget about him, but forget about him in a good way. I'm not saying he should fall off and people should stop listening to his music, but the public needs to miss him. We need to want to see Drake again, but we can't do that if he's always in our face, so he literally should just be staying low, living in the studio, not posting about it, but just being in the studio, making some of the greatest music he's ever made in a very long time. Come back next year with probably album of the year and a couple summer bangers, and let the internet do exactly what it always does. Stop talking about what happened yesterday as soon as there's something more interesting to talk about today, that being Drake's new album. And judging by how short-term the internet's memory has become in recent years, I'm pretty sure this was a foolproof plan, but Drake's ego got in the way. Because he always has to be seen and he always has to perform, but he's terrible at controlling his public image. He's his own worst enemy. With 1,000 subscribers, I'm trying to hit 2,000 subscribers, so if you really like this video, hit the like button so more people can see it and support me. And if you really like this video, please subscribe because I have more content like this coming soon. And also tell me, what do you think? Am I overthinking the situation, or is Drake doing everything except what he's supposed to do? Let me know in the comment section below, and thanks for watching.